And we're back. Okay, so in this video, we are going to add the bar joists now in each bay. So we are going to be adding these elements here. So these are the elements that actually hold up the roof or actually hold up the level. So we're going to place these first, and then we'll work on getting the correct stacking of these. Because when we place them first, they're going to come in flush with this beam, but then we'll figure out how to move things. Okay, so here's the deal with this cool little joist. This is a beam system, okay? So we do that under structure beam system, but the problem is you guys do not have this particular family loaded into your Revit. So I provided it for you in the lecture. So we need to first import that family into our model project file. So it's there for us to use, and then we can put it in. Okay, so let me close some of these windows so I just make this easier. Let's go to level 2 because that's where we're going to add these joists. So I'll keep my structural open, but I'll close my level 1. So I have my 3D example file open, my 3D grid that I'm making with you, structural file that I'm making with you, and then my level 2. All right, so we want to add our joists in here. Now, because this is a square, it doesn't matter which direction they go, right? I always like to take, which makes sense, the shortest possible dimension. So if your bays are smaller than 24 by 24 in some direction, and they can be if you want them to be, you would just run them in the short direction like I have shown here. Okay, so let's add those. So first we need to bring the family in. So I'm going to go to Insert, Load Family, and then navigate to the file that I provided, and it's called K-Series Bar Joist, right? Blah, blah, blah. I'm going to hit Open. Okay, so now that looks like nothing happened, right? But that model has been loaded into our Revit project for us to use. So now it'll be in my type selector and I can use it. So let's go to Structure, Beam System. Okay, so if we did not load it, you would not see any K12 versions or K1 here, versions in here under beam type. It would just be this one. Okay, but now we have some other choices. So if we brought in some other beam families, you would see them in your list now. So what we want to say is, oh, let's do 8K1. What the exact difference is between 8K1 and 12K1, I couldn't tell you. Maybe it's the amount of bracing in it. Maybe it's the depth of it. Who knows? You can play around. What we want to set our justification to is centered. And we'll do a fixed distance of, let's do 2 feet. And check 3D here. Okay, now I'm going to bring my mouse down. If I bring it over on this side, you can see this is where it's going to place the different joists. It's going to center the first joist and then do them 2 feet from the center of that bay. Now our joist happens to be, our bay size happens to be 24 by 24. So 2 feet fits perfectly in there. It's divisible by 2 feet. So there's 12 of them. And here I can have them go the other way. I'll have them go this way. Okay, so I'm just going to click. I can say, well, this side or this side. I'm going to do this side and click. Okay, now it's sort of thinking and it put them in. Okay, I can double check by going to my 3D structural, and lo and behold, there it is. Now it still has me in this tool, create beam system. I'm just going to hit the green check. You might get a beam direction not not specified. Just hit quit sketching and your beams will be in there. Okay, I'm going to go back to level 2. I'm going to add the rest of them. I'm going to go structure, beam system. My settings are still there. I'm going to put this bay in, and this bay in all at once. All right, I'm going to go to my 3D structural view, hit the green check, hit quit sketching, and now they're all in there. You'll get used to warnings in Revit in the corner there. It happens all the time. They come up all the time, and it's annoying all the time. But here they are. That looks pretty good. Got our beams in there. We got our joists in there. The relationship of the joist to the beam isn't set yet, but we'll figure that out. Okay, but let's get the other beams, joists rather, up here. So in my level 2, they're running vertically here on my sheet. So I'm going to go to my roof level, and we're going to do exactly the same thing. I'm going to go structure, beam system. It knows I'm on the roof level. I'll keep all my settings here. And boom, 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 boom. And then I'm just going to go to my 3D structural view. There they are. I just hit the green check, quit sketching, and they're in. So I've got all my beams, all my joists are in there. Looks pretty intense right now. That's a pretty involved model. Okay, so let me just reiterate a couple things. In my level 2, I have my detail setting to fine, but if I change it to coarse, everything is sort of just a line drawing. This is basically a structural drawing. This is how structural drawings look. They just have a dark line where a beam is, or a line rather, where a beam is. So they're not showing all the detail of those structural elements because, as you can see, when I change that to fine, it makes it a little messy. Okay, so I can leave my level 1 and level 2 on coarse. My roof and level 2 on coarse, because that's perfectly fine for a structural drawing. And we're just worried about structure at this point. Okay, so I've got my joists in there. All right, look at my nice model here. Now let's work on the beams. We have to reposition them. So really, this beam, the middle beam, just focusing on the roof level, this beam, this one, these need to move down the amount of the seat of one of these. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to find out what the heck is that height for this particular bar joist. How do you figure that out? And then I'll show you how to move them down. So to figure it out, I'm just going to go to my roof level, and I want to look at one of these bar joists. So I'm just going to make a section cut right here. So I'm going to go up to view, section, and I'm just going to draw a section cut right there. So this box here represents what is included in my section cut and how deep am I looking into my model. This represents, this direction of how much of the section am I looking at. For example, I could have this only be like that, for example, which would be fine. So let's leave it there. So here's my section cut. I'm going to double click on it. Now here is the sectional view of my structure so far. I'm going to change the let me get that. I'm going to change the detail to fine so I can really see what's going on in here. And I'm going to turn thin lines off or on, however, thin lines on, I guess, so I can see everything. And this is the height I'm interested in right here, from the bottom of here to the top of here, because I want this beam to come down that amount so that this can just stay where it is. Okay, so I'm going to go to modify, and I'm going to go to this little handy tool here, measure between two references. I'm going to go boom, boom, 2.5 inches. I didn't even click again. I'm just holding it there, 2.5 inches. I'm going to hit escape. I'll go to my roof level. I'm going to delete this section because I've got the information I've wanted and I'm ready to move on. And I am going to move all the required beams down. So I'll go to my 3D structural model to do that again. So I'm just going to select these. Oop. I'm sorry, I'm selecting the wrong ones. I want these ones because that's where the joists are resting on. And I'll do it for both levels right away. So I'm going to grab these beams and I'm going to move them down 2.5 inches. I can select everything here. Boom. Come here. There we go. Okay, so I've selected the beams. Now I'm going to go up into the properties palette, and because the beams are selected, it's telling me what type it is. Here I could, of course, hit this little down arrow and change what type of beam I want there, but I don't in this case. So I'm going to leave it at 12 by 26. But I do want to change the start and end level of each beam to minus 2.5 inches. I'll do the same for the end, minus 2.5 inches, and hit apply. Okay, all the beams move down. Now here is the sort of bummer. The joist actually moved with it. Okay, we've created the space for the joist, but how do we get the joist to say untie itself from the beam and just be where I tell it to be? Okay, so right now they're sort of talking to each other and they're locked together. So we need to sort of unpin them together. So here's what I'm going to do. Show you another nifty tool. Boy, would it be a bear to go in here and select all these friggin' fraggin' bellyakin joists, right? So I'm just going to select everything, at least all my joists, right? We can select everything or part of everything, but I want to make sure that my joists are definitely selected. And I'm going to go down to this little guy right here. This is the filter. Looks like an upside, or it looks like a funnel. All right, so I'm going to click it. And right now it's saying you have 129 things selected. 88 of them are joists, and the rest are these other things. I'm going to uncheck those because I don't want those, and I'm going to hit OK. So now only those joists are selected. Okay, now I want to go up to this handy tool right here and unpin them. Okay, so now they're all unpinned, and then I want to go over to the properties palette for their start level offset, end level offset, which is now minus 2.5 inches, and just zero that out. 0, 0, apply. All of them now moved up. So now the top of this beam is the same height as the top of these beams, and these are resting nicely on this beam, which is exactly how it would be. So we have a nice little structural bay made here. Okay, that's looking good. So in our little example here, we have essentially this whole top portion done. In the next video, we will do the bottom portion. Okay? All right, guys. Stay tuned for footings and foundations.